Hi friends, and welcome to the Book Refuge, and welcome to my favorite video to make every month, my wrap up. This is my April wrap up. First off, just one thing to say, the reason why I look so fancy is because I'm going to see Endgame in about 3 hours, and so I decided to film this to use up some time because your girl it was really hard not to go to an earlier showing, but I'm going with all of my friends in Fargo, like 20 of us are going together, and I need to wait for them. So I thought I would film this in the interim, but I had a great reading month. Actually, you know I always film these a couple days early. I'm just someone who likes to go up like right at the end of the month. So there are 2 books I'm still hoping to finish, but you know, if I do finish them, they'll just be in May. So like, it doesn't really matter. But this month I read 12 books, DNF 2, for a total of 14, almost just messed up my math, that I read or was looking at. I actually read 3 e-arcs, which was super exciting, and I had 3 5-star reads and a ton of 4s. So it was overall a good month, which is great because I had my two DNFs happen like right in a row. And it was really disheartening for me if you've been watching my vlogs because I was really hoping to like both of them. I mean, you're always hoping to like every book you read, right? Anyway, rambling enough, let's get in. This is already going to be long enough because I have lots of things to say. So as normal, I have my wonderful planner that has all my notes and everything. And let's dive in. So let's start with the worst and work its way up. And for me, that is my 2 DNFs. So first, let's start with what has to be the most heartbreaking DNF for me, and that is Hungry by H.A. Swain. So this was the book you guys picked for me to read out of You Choose From My haul, and unfortunately I didn't like it. It was just very hard to connect with. The main character was very naive and frustrating to me, and the thing is, this is a standalone dystopian novel where sorry, I jumped way ahead of myself. This is a place where food is illegal and you don't eat anymore. You take these supplements every day. And there's a subsect of the population who is starting to hunger for things. They're hungering for art, they're hungering for poetry, and they're hungering for food. And since food is illegal, that's a problem. And our main character is actually the daughter of one of the main scientists who has been, you know, creating these supplements. And when the main character, I should remember her name, Thalia, when she starts being hungry for things, it causes a lot of problems with her family, and they want to put her in a mental institution because she's hungry. And it's just really weird. And I didn't like some of the implications about kind of like the opposite of anorexia. And I also think it was, I'm not like dumping on it totally for that, because the main reason I stopped reading is I was bored and I didn't like Thalia. You know, that's the #1 thing that throws me out of a book, is if I don't like the main character and it's a first point of view, I can't do it. Like, it's over for me. So that's really all I can say about it. I went into a little more detail on my Goodreads, so you can check that out. But otherwise, yeah, I had to DNF that. Next, I DNF'd Stalking Jack the Ripper after only 50 pages for the same reason of I didn't like the main character. I found her to be very like rude and kind of, I'm sorry, I'm not going to use that word. And I just knew that I did not want to spend potentially 4 books in her head, because I believe the 4th one comes out this year. I mean, it disappoints me because I thought this could have been a really exciting like female Sherlock Holmes, and maybe that's kind of what she's like. But I said this in my vlog too, like I knew who did it within 50 pages because for this specific reason. On the back of this book it says I was the girl who loved Jack the Ripper, and so I knew immediately that it wasn't the person that she loved, because I was like, it's not going to be this person if they tell you that on the back, because they're not going to spoil that. And so because I was able to cross that person off, I figured it out within 50 pages. And when I looked at a review to check, and that's who it was, I was done. Again, that's enough. I don't want to talk about the DNFs too much because I have way better things to talk about. And time marches on. So yeah, DNF those 2. I just couldn't get in the girl's head, and so I had to back out. So moving right along to things that were a little more fun. A book I just finished recently, I had to return it to the library, but it was The Wood by Chelsea Bobolsky. I have notes about this one, sorry. So this got a 3-star from me, and for a couple reasons. I'll tell you what I liked first, because I did have a good time reading this book. It was a quick read. I, in contrast, liked the main character a lot. I thought she had a lot of depth. Again, not telling you what the story is about. I'm just rushing through things. Just calm down. It's fine. Our main character, she's in charge of the wood. Now, this wood is a wood outside of, in her backyard, and it is this forest that has these different time dimensions, not dimensions, but time periods that all come through there. So daily, there are these people called travelers who they stumble through one of these portals into the wood, and it is her job, to see the person back to their portal. So she'll ask them where they're from and what time, and she'll know, okay, there's only one Chinese one in the Ming Dynasty, and she'll take them back and they get home. And most of the times the travelers, they have no idea how they stumbled there. Sometimes they're drunk people or they're children and they don't know what happened, and her job is to get them back home with nothing bad happening to them. Well, the setup of this plot is there's something corrupting the wood. It's causing this like black ooze to happen, and a lot of the trees are dying and they're poisoned. And this concurs with a young man coming through who purposely is coming through, and he wants to stay in her time because he's looking for his parents, who are also guardians of the wood at their portal time, and he's looking for them because they went missing. A lot to explain. And it was a very exciting concept. It's set in modern day, but we're dealing with people in different times coming through. I love time travel. One of my favorite book series ever is about time travel. And there's a heavy burden that is laying on Winter's her name, sorry. Because she can't move away. She can't really focus on school. She can't make plans for her life because there always has to be a guardian of the wood. So when she gets married and has a kid, she'll have to teach that kid how to take care of the wood, and that's what her life will be. So, okay, I really like the setup of this story. I really liked her interactions with the young man, I believe Thomas is the name, who comes through. And the plot really surprised me, like who the thing, entity / person is that is corrupting the wood. Very interesting. 2 things I didn't like. 1, I just didn't like the ending. I'm not going to spoil it for you. I didn't like it. But also with the ending, this is a standalone novel, and it was pretty short, under 300, like just over 300 pages. It needed a sequel, and there isn't one. It just ends abruptly. You're supposed to believe everything's going to get worked out after this really, like, some books need to be standalones. This needed a series, and for that, it was a 3-star for me because it didn't wrap stuff up good enough to be a standalone, and it was always written that way. Like, it's not a case where, like, the sequel got cut off. There just isn't one. And that really disappointed me. So, man, I always get so behind. Next, my 3.5 star is Nemesis by Brandon Reich. I listened to this on audio most of the way through because it is read by the people from the Remnant Chronicles, which was one of my favorite book series from last year. And so I looked on my shelves and saw which books I had, and then I looked who was reading them, and I picked that one. This one has a way too complicated setup for me to explain. I think I do it in a couple of my vlogs. I'll put one up there, but basically this girl named Min and this boy named Noah, every 2 years on their birthday they get murdered, and then they wake up and nobody believes that it's happening to them. Nobody else notices what's happening to them. And Min, she doesn't believe she's crazy, but Noah, he thinks that he's crazy. And so it's these 2 different like perspectives of it. And you find out, of course, that there's a whole lot more going on than you would think, of course. And we're also dealing with the possibility of, it had the vibes of like a Hunger Games in a certain sense, which, yep, super vague. And this is the first in a trilogy, and I'm gonna read the next one next month. So I'm sorry that that's a super vague explanation. I really enjoyed this. Min was amazing. I can tell you one of the things I didn't like. I didn't like Noah in this book. However, he has a very good setup for going into the next one. So I think that that will be much better later on. So I'm holding out hope. Like, I'm going to continue the series. Like, a 3.5 is enough for me to read the next one. So anyway. Next, I read Beautiful Bastard by Christina Lauren, and it says it's the third book in the series, but to me it was the epilogue to this one, so I read that one on my Kindle, and that was Beautiful Bitch. Really intense names, I know, I'm sorry. But I'm going to talk about them at the same time because I gave them the same rating, and for me, again, Beautiful Bitch is a novella, and it just felt like an epilogue to this one. I'm going to be reading probably this whole series. I really like Christina Lauren. This was their first book of theirs that I read. I picked it up because it was said to be kind of like Twilight fan fiction is how it started. This one felt more like it than a lot of other novels that have said that, but still, I don't know, to me, Bennett and Chloe were not like those two, except for them, you know, they work at what kind of company do they work at? A business, whatever. Thankfully he was not a Christian Grey replica, which is what I was worried about when I picked it up. But anyway, this is a love to hate story. It takes place in Chicago. Girl gets a new job. Her boss is a jerk. I gave these both 4 stars because I found them really sexy, but very inappropriate relationship between boss and employee. Very inappropriate sexual situations. And I'm not saying because they're sex, but because of the first interaction, the consent is a little ooh, and I know that will make a lot of people angry, so that's why I want to warn you. But for me, at the time, I was into it because, I mean, yeah. Anyway, I won't do a huge deep dive on these. They're smutty. It was fun. There's a whole series I'm going to be continuing. The books are about the other characters. I loved it. Christina Lauren, I'm going to read more of them soon. I got one from the library for next month, so we'll see. Next, I want to hold up The Hunger Games. This is obviously a reread for me. I'm rereading this whole trilogy this year. It's part of my goals for 2019 of some rereads that I want to do. I haven't read this since the first movie came out, so 2011 or 12. 2012, I think, because I was a freshman in college when the first movie came out. So, yeah, it was really good the second time. This was only, yeah, all of these are 4 stars that I'm talking about right now. However, because it was harder to be in Katniss's head this time, knowing where everything goes, and it was just a little bit harder to sympathize with her than I have in the past. So, yeah, so it lost a star for me, but I still loved Peeta just as much as ever. And I don't think Katniss deserves him. But also, the life she's lived, who else could she be? Like, that's the thing. She's just not a likable character. And I think a lot of people will say this, like, and I don't think she ever really gets likable. But her situation, I understand why she's like that. So, I don't, like, hate on her for it. It was just a statement. Like, the first half of this novel was hard to read through because she annoyed me in her thought process, and it isn't until she's really getting to interact with Peeta and realize that he's a good human that she gets more likable for me. So, but it was still fun to read it and remember, you know, all my feelings and everything. Next, this is the first of 2 of these books that will be on this list, which is exciting. I read An Offer from a Gentleman by Julia Quinn. Ooh, rereading the Bridgerton series. This one is a little bit of a Cinderella retelling. And I'll tell you the setup because it's kind of fun. This is about Sophie Beckett, and she is living with her stepmother and stepsisters. Kind of the worst, not the funnest situation to be in, you know. And her stepmother, she's the bastard child of the father who died. So she really doesn't have a leg to stand on because she's a bastard, and her father never had to acknowledge her or have responsibility for her. But he let them live with her, and when he dies, the stepmother keeps her on because he triples the stepmother's income if she'll take care of his daughter. But he never tells the daughter that. And anyway, so she sneaks off to a ball, meets Benedict, who is the second oldest, because he's a B. They go in alphabetical order. It's a thing. And she's wearing a mask. It's a masquerade ball. And they have a wonderful dance. And then she has to leave because she has to get home before her stepmother. And so he never sees her again after that. And the stepmother finds out that she went to the ball and she kicks her out. So Sophie has to make her own way. And I believe it's 2 years pass. I don't know. Sorry, I forgot. But anyway, some years go by. I think it's 2. It might be more. And Benedict runs into her again. Of course, doesn't know who she is. He saves her from being assaulted. And then he goes about trying to find a job for her. And he makes her an offer that she may or may not refuse. This dropped down a star for me. I mentioned that in my things because Benedict, he's a real jerk in some parts of this, which I didn't remember because I just have such glossy eyes for all of the Bridgertons. But he's a real dick in parts of this. I was actually going to give it 3 stars, and then I remembered why I love it so much, and he really redeems himself and realizes what a horrible thing he had done and said. And so I really appreciated that he comes around to it. But it did go down 1 star for me, but it still has all the great things that the Bridgerton books do. It's great. Next, we're getting there, guys. Next, I read Killing November. This is a 4 star. Again, we're still in 4 stars. I'll tell you when we leave them. By Adriana Mather, who also wrote How to Hang a Witch, which I haven't read. This is an e-arc that I took too long to read it. And I said this in my vlog. It took me so long to read it that I figured I owed it to the author to purchase it and review it that way. So this is basically a spy slash, it's not assassin, it's more spy and information school that is like a Hogwarts if it was only Slytherins. And the one Hufflepuff who lands in. No, I'm just kidding. She's not totally Hufflepuff. The main character in this novel is November, and in the middle of the night, her father tells her that he needs her to go to this special school and he will come and get her when things are safe. This special school is called Academy Absconditii. So, you know, and she gets thrown into this basically like spy and espionage school. And this book is so complicated to explain, but like so good. And she thinks she's only going to be there for a few weeks. She finds out just a lot of things about her family that she didn't know. She's thrown into this like dangerous place, and sure enough, someone's murdered and she gets blamed for it. And she has to discern who to trust. She has to discern if it's okay to like this one person that she kind of likes. And yeah, she discovers that her family is in more danger than she knew, and also that more things are possible than she knew, because she thought that she's not going to fit into this school and she's not meant to be there, and she discovers that she is. That is the worst explanation of a book, guys. I really like this. I give it 4 stars. There's going to be a sequel to this. It was really exciting. She gets to she's learning these skills, as well as, you know, people just don't believe that she's as innocent as she is because everybody else is working an angle and she's not. And so that makes her stand out as, like I said, like a Hufflepuff in a room full of Slytherins, because she just wants allies and she wants to get along with people and just wants to live. There's people trying to kill her. And this school, nobody knows about it and nobody knows where it is. Like, literally, nobody knows where it is except, like, the teachers know where it is. But, like, to get there, they drug her to bring her there. So, like, right off the bat, this was a hard book to start because I hate the you're drugged to get you to do something thing, which I think everyone hates that. But I mean, it's a trope that's really hard for me to read when people are drugged. Like, it's something I don't like that happens in the Hunger Games, just indiscriminate drugging of people to knock them out. I hate it. And that's how the first scene in this, but it gets better so much quicker. I did not guess who the bad person was. Woo! Yeah, was blown away. It was great. But I knocked it down a little just because the situations were just a little bit much for me. So, okay, next. And this book I read right at the beginning of the month. You know, I was reading this last month, and that's The Black Prism by Brent Weeks. Oh boy, this novel. This was my first book I ever listened to on Scribd. This was so fun. I gave this 4 stars. There are so many twists. The author treats you with so much respect and, like, doesn't dumb anything down for you. Like, the twists and turns, like, I can't even. But let's talk about the magic in this a little bit, because so our main character is called the Prism, because he can control all of the spectrum of light. And that's what their magic system is here, is there is 7 levels of it. And it's called like the chromosphere, whatever. It's hard to explain. And so, yeah, so there's sub-red, red, orange, yellow, green, blue, and super violet, and then black and white. And he can control, and like each color does something different. So like orange is really like sticky, and you can like form things out of it, and like red is incendiary, and there's all these different things. And so the prism, his name is Gavin, and he defeated his evil brother 16 years ago. And the thing about the prism is you only live in increments of, you're only the prism in increments of 7, because eventually your magic will like blow you out, basically. It burns you out. And so he's going to be like one of the longest living prisms, because he's at 16 years, which means he's going to make it to 21, because he survived 7 and 14, and he's going to make it to 21. I'm just going all over the rabbit hole with this. But that's the cool thing about the magic, is a lot of people have it, but some people will choose not to use it to prolong their life, because if you use the more magic you use, the sooner you'll die. And it just sucks the life out of you and kills you. So the best parts about this novel, there's also another character, a boy named Kip, and we're dealing through his point of view. There are a lot of harsh criticisms for this book out there. I was talking with Murphy a lot while I was reading it, and she was sharing with me some things she'd heard about it. A lot of people think it's very sexist, that the way it treats women is really gross. And you know, if nobody had warned me about it, I wouldn't have noticed it. So, and I know that that's an insensitive thing to say, but for me, the times that they were talking about women in like sexualized terms came from the point of view of Kip, who's 15, and he'll notice women's boobs, and he'll notice how pretty they are, and there are a lot of scenes too where there's people naked for magic purposes, and he can't help but notice them. Like, he's a boy. So for me, when he would notice body parts or sexual things, I'm in his head, and I'm like, I mean, I would probably notice those things too if I was a 15-year-old boy. Heck, when I was a 15-year-old girl, like, I would notice those things. And then there's some criticisms that like women think too harshly about themselves. I think too harshly about myself, and I compare myself to people all the time. So I don't know, for me, it just didn't get in the way of the story, but I just wanted to mention it because it is criticisms that are strongly hurled against this book, is how he wrote it. And it did not dim my enjoyment. There are some really intense conversations in this book. It was very exciting. The cliffhanger was intense. I bought the second book. I can't wait to read that. What's it called? The Blinding Knife. I'm really excited to continue with it. All right, we're getting there. Next, I read Fixer Up by, sorry, let me see what the name is. Tessa Bailey. This was an arc. This was a sports romance. This was a so cute one. Oh my gosh. It was so much fun. I read this at the beginning of the month too. It has a fake dating trope as the main thing. The main girl, I love her so much. She has her own clown business, which is adorable. A clown like rental and like entertainment thing. And her brother's best friend, I think it's Travis. I'm sorry, I don't have the book with me because it's in ARC. So if I said the name wrong, I'll put it down here. But Travis hurt himself. He was a baseball player, and so he's back in their hometown and he's moping, and it's been like a couple months, and so she goes over to his house and basically kicks his butt and tells him that right now everyone's pitying you, so they're giving you space, but eventually people are going to start saying bad things about you. And so she encourages him to try to find a job, even though he doesn't need it because he has enough money. And she's like, you need to be busy. And she's like, you're going to start putting on weight and you're going to be unhappy. And so she really takes the initiative to help him. And he's really pissed off about it at the beginning and is like, why do I care, you know, what you think of me? But then it becomes obvious that he kind of likes her a little bit, and so they end up forming a pact, as you do, because she wants to be thought of more as an adult And, you know, she's 23, but like nobody takes her seriously, and her family, while very loving, is pretty rude to her. And he wants to be thought of as more stable so that he can get this one job that wants him to be a more respectable person. I love this. I don't like a lot of like sports romances. They don't talk about sports too much in it because he's not doing the sports anymore. But one of the things I really wanted to be sure to mention is, besides it being really sexy and really fun, and their chemistry was, whew, like, I can't wait. I'm going to buy this book. I want to read it again. I want to get it to my best friend. It was so good. I really liked the struggle that Travis was going through. He really kind of hates himself right now. He doesn't like the image that is made of him. And he really realizes that, you know, his friend is right, because that is the only image he has, is of being a womanizer and heavy drinker and a baseball star. And when that left, he didn't have anything. And he's really struggling with that. And there's this one scene, which I'm going to share with you because I want to get across that this has more to it than just the sexiness, is him and her, Travis, and I can't remember her name. I'm a horrible person. They go out for drinks, and one of his fans comes up and is like, hey, you're my wife's hall pass, just so you know. Like, you could have sex with her whenever you want. It's totally fine with me, and it's fine with her. And he's saying all this, like, right in front of his fake girlfriend, but they don't know that. And Travis is like, hey man, well thanks, like that's nice to know. And the girl totally steps in front and is like, do you realize the words that you're saying and how hurtful they are? That you're saying that it's okay for your wife to have sex with him and you be cool with it, and like, do you just not realize? And that's one of the things that really, you know, Travis is like, wow, she actually sees me and doesn't just see what I can do for her. So anyway, side note about Fix Her Up, I adored it. It was so much fun. It's all the things I love about a romance. I finished it in like 3 hours. It was adorable. Okay, we're getting there. Almost done. Next, I have my 3 5-star reads. Whew. Yes, this video is going to be long, but I love a long wrap up. So hopefully you feel the same way as me, because whatever. Next was the other Julia Quinn. I read Romancing Mr. Bridgerton, which is the 4th one. This is about Colin and Penelope. And oh my gosh, I forgot, like my face hurts from smiling. I read this just this week. This one, if you have read any of the other ones, you know there's this woman named Lady Whistledown, who has been writing a gossip column for our entire series. So for 10 years, she's been writing this column. And Lady Danbury, who's this really sassy, feisty older woman, lays down this challenge that she will pay £1,000 to whoever can unmask Lady Whistledown. And so that starts this big like mystery of who the woman is, and everyone's trying to find her. And Penelope and Colin, in a previous book, Colin says that he would never marry Penelope, and Penelope overhears that, and that's really hard because this book starts with Penelope telling you that she's been in love with him since she was 15 years old, and now she's 28. It hurts to say, but like, she's an old maid. She'll probably be living with her mom the rest of her life, and she's in love with Colin. And Colin comes back to town after he really likes to travel, and he doesn't like the persona that he has of being a charmer and a rogue, and he kind of like starts to look at Penelope a different way and realize that she's a good person, and that the reason it's so easy to talk to her is because they are honestly friends, and he loves her. And ooh, it's so good. It's so good. I love this one. I forgot because I'm like blinded by some of the other heroes, but this is one of the best ones, and it's one of my best friend's favorite one too, and it was for me. It was beautiful. All right, next, I just read this one the other day too, and that is Something That Could Last by Ashley Cade, and this was another e-arc. This book comes out on May 9th. No, May 7th. It comes out in 2 weeks. from when this is coming out. Yeah, 2 weeks. And oh, this was so cute. This was a new adult romance. This is about Jacob and Abby, and Jacob is taking a 2-week vacation with his best friend Luke, and they go to this small little town in West Virginia where Abby is, she works at this like outdoor recreational facility, so they do like zip lining and river rafting tours, and she also works at a diner. And so she runs into Luke and Jacob when they're going zip lining, and then she tells them about the restaurant she works at so she can meet them, and her and Jacob have chemistry right away. But the thing is he's only there for 2 weeks, and he actually is the son of a senator, and there's a lot of expectations waiting for him back home. And Abby is awesome. Like, she's so great. This is a book of 2 really awesome people meeting and falling in love, and is it going to be something that lasts for them, or is it just a summer fling? And the story is as simple and as complicated as that. There are trigger warnings for sexual assault in this book. Like, kind of yeah, I won't say anymore. That's enough of a trigger warning. It happens. Nothing follows through. That's what I'll say. Like, there's the threat of such a thing. Okay? Yeah. This is the first in a series. It had a horrible cliffhanger. Oh my gosh. Thankfully, these are self-published novels, so the author, who I was able to interact with on Instagram, said the next one will be coming out just later this year. So I'm so excited, but I'm definitely going to buy a physical copy of this one. It was so sweet. It was a great new adult. It was great. It was nice to read one that wasn't a like Penelope Douglas, who I love. You know, I've read a lot of her books, but those ones, you're always like uncomfortable that you like it. Do you know what I mean? If you read them, I don't know, maybe people don't feel as guilty as me, but sometimes I feel a little guilty about those because I'm like, oh, I wouldn't want this to happen to my best friend or my daughter or anything like that. But something that could last, it was really great. And I think I should mention too, Abigail is half Cherokee and her grandma is full Cherokee. And so there's some fun things that go along with her heritage in the story. And her grandma is her parental figure in here, and she's amazing. So I want to mention that. And then, whew, finally, we're here. My favorite book I read this month was A Curse So Dark and Lonely by Bridget Kimmerer. Oh, guys. I have a lot of notes for this, so sorry, I have to grab them. I had a freaking thrill with this. This was our book club pick for Murphy's Patreon reading group. I haven't liked one of the books we've read this much the whole time. Like this, I mean, I've liked other ones. I've had a good time. This is my favorite one. And when I bought this book when it came out, but I was like afraid to read it because Bridget Kimmerer, I really like Letters to the Lost. And I was like, can she do fantasy the same way? Like, I don't know. And I heard that there was a character with cerebral palsy in here, and so I was nervous about what that would look like. But being someone who doesn't know anything about the disease, it's not like I was like afraid of being offended. I just didn't know what to expect. And yeah, and so I waited, and when it got picked as our book club pick, I was like, this is my chance. Oh, I just wrote in my notes, love, 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 love. And then I love the character. So this is, if you haven't heard, just if I'm your first introduction to this, I'll tell you. So this is a retelling of Beauty and the Beast. With a modern twist to it. So Ren is our prince, and he's been cursed to turn into a monster at the end of every season. So it's complicated though, what that season is. I'm not going to go into those details, but basically he has to make a girl fall in love with him when he is beautiful and really fall in love with him in here, which I love the twist on that, because instead of him being a beast and the person has to love his insides, he's beautiful and the person has to love his insides. I just think it was really, really clever. And then our protagonist is Harper, and she has cerebral palsy of semi-mild form from what I've heard and been told. One of the Patreons of Murphy actually has cerebral palsy, and they said that their case is a lot like Harper's. So that was cool to be confirmed that that is true to it. And I mean, I believed that Bridget would do her best. Like, if you're gonna put that into your book, you better back it up with like good information and not, you know, lie about anything. You know what I mean? Anyway, so good. So there's also another character, and his name is Gray. He's not a point of view character in this book, excuse me, but he is Ren's captain of the guard. And at the beginning of every season, he has, I think it's just a couple hours to cross over into our world and find a girl to bring back for Ren to woo and make fall in love with him. And they've been doing this for 300 seasons, I guess. But the seasons always start over when Ren dies. So it's not like it's been, 300 years. It's just because sometimes he's like tried to kill himself before and like all these things. And so Gray is trying to kidnap this other girl, and Harper steps in and tries to beat him up because he's trying to take this girl. So Gray takes her instead. And so I just love it because she has a lot of distrust for the both of them because they kidnapped her and took her away from her sick mother and her brother. And so Ren has an uphill to climb, but man, I loved him. A lot of people thought this would be a love triangle. It didn't turn out to be that. And I was totally fine with it because I love Ren. I love him. This is the first in a series. I don't know. I'm thinking maybe a duology or trilogy. Don't know. But I'm dying for more. I think it's called, the next one, I forgot what the next one's called. But I think it's called A Heart So Fierce and Broken, I believe. And, oh Lord, I want it. I want it so bad. This is one of my favorite books of the year, hands down. I read it so fast. I had such a good time, and I can't wait for more. So I will go ahead and wrap this up because I talk way too long. Sorry, but I like to go into more in depth with my books, and you guys seem to like that because you stick around. You're so great. Also, I want to say this. I'm not doing a special video for it this time, but thank you so much for 500 subscribers. That happened when I wasn't looking. I love you all so much. I so enjoy talking with you. Please don't ever hesitate. Leave me a comment. Reach out to me on Instagram or Twitter. I comment back as soon as I get them because I'm small and I can still do that. So anyway, I hope you all enjoyed Endgame. Be on the lookout for soon. I'm going to be doing a very special video with my friend Jonathan, who I dedicated a video to not too long ago. We're going to make a really special video together, and I am beyond excited for it. So anyway, thank you so much for showing up, for staying here. I make new videos every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, and you can watch some more of them right now. Bye!